One of the hardest things sometimes is to face the truth about who we are and what we struggle with. Um, it is easier to, at times, deny the issues that we encounter, deny the symptoms of the issues that we encounter. Many of us are people who just push forward. We just move on. Like it doesn't matter what's going on in our lives, doesn't matter what's happened, doesn't matter what's happening. We are people who push forward, we push through. But there are times when life forces us to take a stop and to evaluate where we are and what is actually happening, what is taking place. And doing that does not mean that we are not strong enough to move forward. Doesn't mean that we're not strong enough to push forward. What it means is that we're strong enough to recognize when we need to take a break, when we need to face who we are. And so I actually just wanted to speak a little bit about how we view trauma, especially as Black people. And I'm just going to speak from the lenses of being a West Indian because that's who I am. How do we deal with our stuff? How do we face our stuff? And what does that look like? So many of us in the West Indian culture probably have experienced some form of trauma, whether that's child sexual abuse, whether that is sexual assault, verbal abuse, forms of neglect, physical abuse, because what was punishment or what we knew to be punishment is not necessarily punishment. It's actually abuse to some extent. And that trauma, because it's so normal to us, because it's been normalized, we grew up with it being unresolved, right? And so we enter relationships with people, whether those are our friendships, those are romantic relationships, family relationships, and even career relationships. We enter these spaces and we don't know how to operate effectively in these spaces because of the unresolved stuff. Initially, we don't recognize that it's unresolved stuff. We don't even recognize it as stuff because we're taught to just accept the stuff as normal. Accept a rape as normal. Accept an abuse as normal. Accept, verbal tirades as normal. Accept physical abuse as normal. These things are normal. Okay, a parent cussing a child out is normal. A father, being a womanizer is normal. Whatever that looks like, just any violation can be considered normal, depending on culture, right? But being normal doesn't make it right. It being normal doesn't make it right because what happens is that when you accept abuse, when you accept things that are wrong as normal behavior, you don't fix what's wrong with you because you don't recognize what is wrong with you. You push forward and you keep going, but you have children, and what you do is just pass on those things. Pass on those things. So the first step then is in facing our trauma is to recognize that we have been traumatized. It's to recognize that what was considered normal is actually abnormal behavior. What was considered normal actually affected us and caused disturbance in our spirits. What has happened to us caused what has happened to us caused our brains to be affected. It caused our lives to be affected. Because if your brain is affected, you are affected, right? And that's what trauma does. Trauma disorganizes the brain. It affects how your brain works. And if your brain is affected, if the working of your brain is affected, then how you work is affected, right? And so the first thing, like I said, to do is to face the fact that we've been traumatized. You've been traumatized. Second thing to do after you've acknowledged that is to now start recognizing and start assessing, start analyzing, start recognizing the symptoms of this stuff. Once you start seeing that, you'll be able to start knowing what to do next. Like, how does it affect you? How does it affect others around you? I know for me, I used to be a very angry person. I didn't know I was angry, but I was angry. I would have outbursts, not knowing why. That was a product of what I've experienced. Another thing is how we deal with life. Some people have risky behaviors for certain types of trauma that they've experienced. And for others, they don't know how to connect socially with people. There's so many variations, so many different things that affect us based on the things that we've had that's happened to us. The other thing is seek help. Seek help. It's okay. It's okay to seek help. I have had to seek help on many occasions. And I have actually at times dealt with the shame of having stuff. But if I feel like I was created for a purpose, right? And even though the enemy tried to thwart this purpose by making things happen to me, the reality is that my purpose is still my purpose, regardless of what has happened to me. It's still my purpose, and God promises to bring me to that expected end. So how do I get there? God is a God of wisdom, right? And God is a God of more than one ways to make things happen. And so sometimes prayer is good, but prayer also works in conjunction with therapy or medication. There's more to say on the subject, on the topic, but I wanted to just at least let people know that, hey, you're in pain. Okay. All right. Not that it's okay, but it's okay to face and acknowledge that you are in pain. What do you do now? What do? You acknowledge that you're in pain, seek help. What does help look like? Help comes in the form of prayer, but it also comes in the form of therapy. It comes in the form of reading the Bible, but it also comes in the form of medicine. And all of that is okay. All of that is okay. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less than. It's okay. Facing yourself is okay. Facing your pain is okay. Facing what was done wrong is okay. Facing what you have done wrong is okay. Now, how do we fix it? God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we think or ask. That's it. Exceedingly abundantly above all that we think or ask. And God provides so many ways to bring about a solution in our lives, We can't always fix it on our own. And so we have to allow our problems to be outsourced. Because God wants us to prosper and be in good health, even as our soul prospers. So that means our soul must prosper for other parts of us to prosper. And so let's work on getting help. The help that we need is available to us. We just have to go for it.